to my next topic, that is, in the case, for example, of writing, and I'm going to go with Julian. Engagement in creative writing, of course, was a challenge, because we have, we have to aim for the personal interest and passion, and we are going on a format that definitely uh, takes out like the human connection, I am going to say once again. And of course, my question for you is, how did you have like to peer support, sorry, to support your students to write in a different scenario, where you were not like telling them like, okay, I think that, well, you should be doing this or that, guiding them more like personally. So how do you deal with writing there?
So first of all, I think that in a composition course, more so in a high school or like first year, second year college composition course, it is not the duty of the teacher or of the instructor to be just like, chasing students and telling them what to do and so on. So my role in my class is more, I'm like the guide, right? I tell them a little bit, um, like the purpose of every single thing that we do and how to apply all the concepts and theories that we use in class into the writings. But then I usually make them work in pairs. So this way, when we do like, when I teach online, I don't need to be always, I can see, I use, for instance, the shared Google Docs, and I can see day by day the work they do and how they progress in their writing. But I also make them work in groups so that they have to share those documents with their peers, and they write annotations. They include their notes to each other, right? And that way they can improve, yeah, a little bit their writing, I guess, by seeing also what other students think of their writing. And and yeah, this way I like I see that. So I appreciate the progress they make throughout the course, instead of just telling them to do something and giving me the final result, and then me grading the final result of like giving them annotations and then giving it back to them so that they fix it and then submit it again. I don't think it is as useful in an online scenario, like online situation, as just assessing the whole process and like making steps throughout the process. First do this, and let them also, um, although they have to follow and use the theories that we use in class, let them also include a little bit their topics and their interests in the within their writings, so that they this way are a little bit more engaged in the writing activity, like in the whole writing course, I guess.
I guess that you mentioned something very important, that is the interest, right? We have to encourage the students we have to encourage their curiosity and the exploration of new interests. And this is kind of difficult, especially, in these scenarios that we have. And Camera and Rocio, you are dealing now with a foreign language, right? So on top of that, we have to include that they are not even writing, something that probably they have to come, but now you have to add to that that it's going to be in a different language, and that represents a challenge for you. How did you encourage curiosity, and you explore these interests of students when you were dealing in your classes online? uh how did you do that, Rocio, Cameron?
Right, Rocío.
Me?
Rocio.
Okay. Okay. So for so I teach introductory levels too. I teach level 1 and level 2. For that, we need lots of repetition, vocabulary. So to foster vocabulary, conjugation of verbs, I use different games, such as GameKit. Students love GameKit. Quizlet, There are things that you can do online as a class. So Quizlet has different options for students to do individually, but you can also do Quizlet live, and they compete either in groups or individually with the whole class. So that kind of helps them, keeps them active, interested, and they're practicing the vocabulary or conjugations or whatever the target is in the class.
Okay,
So
so
through games, basically.
okay, so and that was the way that you build up vocabulary, and then I guess that from that point on you moved to written, well, exercises of writing, right?
Hmm. So from vocabulary and even conjugation wise, um, that works. That helps them practice. Quizlet, GameKit, Kahoot, Nearpod. I use Nearpod too. WordWall. It's another platform that I use. Um, but for communication wise, then I had to create other activities, the exercises in class.
Okay. I
It's
guess that.
surveys, like interviewing their partners, reporting that. So they have to practice both things there. Speaking, because they had to ask the question, get their partner's information, and then report it. For the report, I would usually ask them to write it.
Okay, so basically we have there, like a written exercise that it's actually, it's actually going back to the building vocabulary and the new structures putting together, in a sort of text. But of course
Mm-hmm.
we have more complex texts that, well, like compositions that have a little more, time. And Cameron, I know that because of your working at ISU and Wesleyan University, I guess that you are, or you require your students like to come up with these complex forms of written exercises that are going to account for a score that is important for your classes. So how was it? How was the process like during the pandemic and in these non in these asynchronous scenarios or synchronous?
Um, I would say that um, that's one thing that I wish during the pandemic that there would have been more of is more opportunity um, to kind of connect with students, work directly with students on their writing skills. And, it's not that in the traditional classroom I'm able to walk up to the student, sit down next to them or look over their shoulder and see what they're writing directly and give them feedback and very in real time, um, very useful. And when it was just on Zoom, it was not, again, we go back to that direct connection with students. You can send it via email or messages, but to do work in real time, it's just not the same. But yeah, I going back to what Yulin had said earlier, right? Google Docs is a really nice platform with regards to working in real time. You can see the students make changes. You can see exactly what they changed. You can see multiple people editing the document. So that is a nice way. But with regards to me giving feedback to them while they're also doing those changes on Google Docs, I'm usually not talking to them while they're doing it. I'm watching them work, but I'm not necessarily chatting with them while they're doing it. So you, again, don't have the interpersonal connection, if you will.